If you're still sending the same abandoned cart email to every shopper, I need you to stop and think about what that actually means. You're treating someone who browsed a $40 product as the same as someone who's got a $200 cart ready to go. Different people need different reasons to come back. And that's exactly what Instant does. Instant looks at every shopper's behavior on your site and sends the email they should actually get. Personalized copy, the right products, the right offer, all of this running automatically. Brands using Instant are seeing a 3 to 5x increase in their email revenue alone. This is your last chance to get Instant at 50% off for your first 60 days. Grab it at instant.one/Sharma. Welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. I'm your host, Nick Sharma, and today we're going to talk through the new Shopify Everywhere Editions release. So Shopify does their editions, I believe it's twice a year. I think it's winter and summer. And it's usually, 100 plus updates, a ton of good stuff. There's always stuff for developers, stuff for marketers, stuff for the ops team, stuff for the merchandising people, stuff for, basically everybody. And this year, or this summer rather, a lot of their focus was really on how to make your store kind of very omnipresent and omni-available. And that doesn't mean the same thing as omni-channel. Well, actually, it kind of does. But omni-channel, people tend to immediately think of retail and Amazon. But what they're saying is, Shopify wants to be the engine that powers commerce no matter where it happens, whether it's in a mobile app, whether it's in a chat window with Claude or, Chat GPT, whether it's inside a video game and, there's a commerce component. And so there's a lot of updates in this specific editions that are tied to Agentic or AI or, that whole kind of world. So all that said, I want to go through, I spent about an hour and a half going through the entire, every feature that came out. And I basically put together what I thought was interesting for, the people who are listening to this podcast, growth marketers, brand owners, brand founders, people who are scaling brands, et cetera. So I'm going to just walk you through basically my notes and kind of narrate them, talk through them. And if there's anything that, you want to double click on or you would like me to go deeper on, then shoot me a DM on Twitter at Mr. Sharma and we'll get right to it. Now, before we get into this, quick question. Did you sign up? Are you coming? Am I going to see you at our Ecom Founders AI Summit? This is happening tomorrow, June 25th in New York City at Webster Hall. So you might be listening to this late, but if you're not and you're around New York, you want to come, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to get you a ticket. Okay, so let's jump into it. So Shopify just released their editions. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you a website where I kind of took all these notes and basically turned it into kind of just a quick illustrative web page where you can go and reread or re-see a lot of these things. So I'm going to drop that link at the end here, but until then, let's start talking. So number one, your products are now going to be optimized for AI by default. So the last few months, you've probably heard me talk about on the podcast, as well as we had Dylan on, a while ago. He talked about how to basically optimize your site for LLMs. When they crawl it, when they're coming to read from it, when they're consuming or pulling information or trying to do research or anything, and your site pops in, you need to make sure that your site is formatted in a way that these LLMs are actually able to read and pick up everything as they should in the way that you intended. Not in a kind of a confusing way or in a way that's like not done properly, so the LLM is then making its own assumptions. You want to basically make sure you give it everything. So what Shopify is saying now is that is going to be the new, standard, the new default. The sites will now be optimized for LLMs, LLM consumption. Product data structure is going to be designed that way. Sales attribution is going to be done per AI surface. So whether it's Claude or Chat GPT or Perplexity. And so they're basically going to become fully agentic friendly, which also means that, number two, they are making a huge push. And honestly, I thought this was way under talked about by everybody. But essentially what they're doing is they're almost creating like this API, to my understanding, where any publisher can now plug in and basically get access to the Shopify merchant network. So, previously, like if you were Pop Sugar, you would use, and you're writing about an article on your website, you would use something like Skimlinks, which is one of these affiliate platforms where the brand is plugged in and the publisher's plugged in. and you would say, hey, I'm talking about, or, this is my article for Orgain protein powder. So you would search skim links and then route the skim links link in so you get a commission. Shopify is now saying that because people are going to be selling everywhere, whether it's in a Facebook group, whether it's in an app, whether it's in an LLM chat, if you're like, there's a famous influencer named The Bentist, right? Or Michaela Noguera, who's known for makeup. If these people are now recommending products in their LLMs, they can actually plug directly into Shopify and basically route these orders out and then take a commission. So there's a huge affiliate push that's about to happen from Shopify, if I'm understanding this right. And I think I am. The other thing I saw that actually came out, I think yesterday or the day before, I'm recording this on June 23rd. So I think this came out on the 22nd, is Stripe also came out with their version of this, where they basically said, we've now got the Stripe directory. So if you're trying to make a payment or send a payment or involve a merchant, you can use Stripe directory and basically get in and see our entire network of merchants. So it's very interesting to see where this is going to go, because they basically just broke the walls when it comes to affiliate, right? You used to have to be in the right affiliate network. You used to have to be opted in, yada, yada, yada. They're going to basically consolidate this whole process of getting opted in, because it's now going to be native in Shopify. And then because they own the rails and the train tracks, they can basically push orders anywhere. So I thought that was really cool. The next update is one that I'm probably most excited about myself, which I think I've talked about at least once or twice before, but the ability to now, so we've talked about vibe coding, or basically vibe coding landing pages, listicles, advertorials, comparison pages, product launch pages, special collab product pages, whatever it is, right? Now, before, you had to basically host all this on a subdomain. So, if you were Truff Hot Sauce, it would be on pages.truff.com or shop.truff.com or whatever your subdomain was for the brand. Today, what you can now do is, if you're Manus, if you're Replit, if you're Lovable, if you're Vercel, you're now fully integrated directly in Shopify. So you can basically build a landing page inside Manus or Claude Code, where you might have your own design system built out. The platforms know your branding, they understand your copy, they might be connected to your ads manager, so you're able to actually pull insights about what's working and what's not working, so you're not just making a guess as to what's going on the page. That whole process of now building a landing page and getting it to the final live state was possible before, but now it's actually possible, and it's in your main Shopify store, which is cool. So you can basically, if you get this set up right, like all those pieces I just talked about, even if you're using a Manus where you've got a design system, a copy style guide, performance marketing results that it knows to, it can figure out what to keep using or what not to keep using, copy or messaging or creative wise. If you get that whole system built out and then connected to Shopify, you can actually now one-shot landing pages, meaning you can say, hey, take this SKU and build a landing page for Father's Day, with a 3 for buy 2, get 1 free offer for Father's Day with this product. And, all the copy, all the messaging, all the creative goes live, and boom, it's now live within Shopify as well. So, I used to have a landing page agency called Hooks, and this is basically what I saw coming soon, which is why I decided I, didn't want to continue doing that. But all that said, the ability to now take a landing page idea that you have, handle all the research, write all the copy, format the page, take design guidelines or designed modules that are already live and implement them within the page, and then, set up these tests is insane. I can't believe that this is now here. And, anybody that you ask in the world of ecom, one of the biggest drivers of better efficiency is better funnels and better landing pages and better offers. And if you look at what any of the big brands are doing now, right, they're basically testing 20 to 100 ads angles per month, and whichever, let's say you're testing 50, right? Maybe 10 or 15 of those really hit and do well from a performance standpoint. Their click-through rate is higher, their add to cart, cost of add to cart went down a bit because that angle is really good. Then they go ahead and take landing pages and attach landing pages to these 15 out of 50 that worked really well. And you run some more spend and you see what happens. And then you narrow that down to maybe 3 to 7 pages that are just ripping with spend. And so the biggest bottleneck or the biggest barrier to kind of activate this strategy, which is basically the very, 2026 meta friendly strategy of angles versus just spray and pray with a bunch of creative. The benefit is now you can basically build these entire funnels really quick. You don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks for your dev team or a site team to go and duplicate the page. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about this one. I think that this is going to change the game for marketers, especially the ones that are super proactive. Okay, Sidekick is now an actual chatbot that is useful. So before Sidekick was kind of just, Shopify used to always talk about Sidekick being phenomenal. I'm not going to say Sidekick was bad. You could actually diagnose problems usually pretty quickly. You could get answers. You could ask questions to the data, etc. It was basically like a AI 1.0 chat for within Shopify. But now what they've done is they've kind of taken the Claude Code approach where you've got everything all instead of integrating apps and whatnot in Claude Code, Shopify naturally now integrates with all the apps that you have attached to your Shopify store. So you could say, pull this information about Klaviyo, or go through my reviews and pull the ones that sound like this, or look at my gorgeous customer service inbound messages and reviews and identify places we can improve our product, whatever it may be. You can now basically have multiple layers of data and information you're going through when you're using Sidekick. So if you're somebody who uses Sidekick, then you're probably going to be stoked. If you're somebody like me who's usually just trying to plug all of these individual apps into my own instance of Claude Code or a Hermes agent, where I've just got more control or it has more information on me and how I work and all that kind of stuff, then you're probably doing that as well. But, it is pretty amazing to see what Sidekick has evolved to. Okay, so the next one is that the Shop app is pushing a lot of updates, and I think we're going to see the Shop logo start to pop up everywhere. We're going to see it start popping up at checkout at stores that are not on Shopify because that just became a thing. Shop Pay is now available pretty much anywhere. You're going to see the Shop app pop up inside ChatGPT, inside your Claude. You're going to see it pop up inside different apps that have, the ability to pull products or merchandise products or make product recommendations. On the publisher side, basically anywhere where there's, a chat interface you're using, you might find it there. And then on the consumer side, your own Claude Code, your own OpenClaw, your own Hermes agent, any sort of AI systems you've got set up, Shop is now basically trying to be your go-to agent for shopping assistance. So no matter where you're using AI or where you're, leveraging it, Shop is going to basically now try to insert itself and try to be the agent of record, you could say. That's actually a good term we should coin. Agent of record. So just like agent brands have agencies of record, Shop now wants to be the agent of record as your shopping assistant. Now, the thing that I think is also interesting is, like where does this leave Amazon? I'm curious to see what Amazon's response will be, or like an Etsy's response, or eBay. Amazon. I mean, Etsy and eBay are probably too small for this, but Amazon's response will be interesting, and their response is probably going to be something like, "Yeah, Alexa is now going to be open for everybody to use because they reap the rewards much bigger when people do that." But in any case, I'm excited to see kind of what happens here. Amazon, I don't think has I mean, I'm not actually aware, I should say, of a bunch of different integrations that Amazon Alexa has when it comes to shopping recommendations like this. I know they were super early to like TikTok to integrate and create storefronts with creators there, but I don't believe that they've made a ton of pushes here. And maybe that's because the rails weren't there for that. You need to have these chat surfaces or chat platforms or agentic platforms where there's already a ton of users and then Alexa gets integrated. But yeah, so those were basically those 5 things were like the 5 biggest things that I thought. So in summary, that was products being optimized for AI so LLMs can read them. The entire whole affiliate play that they're about to run with LLMs and publishers. Then all the new vibe coding partners being added, whether it's Manus or Vercel or Replit or Lovable, Cloud Code, etc. Then Sidekick, again, for people who use Sidekick, I think that's amazing. And then the Shop app. So whether it's just being able to plug Shop Pay in on a non-Shopify store or their whole three-sided play, with brands, they're powering the catalog, with the publishers, with affiliate through the LLMs, or on the consumer side where it kind of becomes your native shopping agent. The Shop app is also about to get way better. And I think from both a standpoint of whether you are ordering from Shopify merchants or not, they're going to really improve the Shop app because, I just know for a fact, talking to people at Shopify, it's a huge focus for them, and it's something that they didn't expect to do so well and perform so well for the entire ecosystem of Shopify. Time for the retention tip of the week, brought to you by Instant. Here's a stat that should make every e-commerce operator uncomfortable. Roughly 98% of your site visitors leave without buying, and you can only email the 2 to 5% who opted in and are actively cookied. Everyone else, ghost. You spent money to get them to your site, and they vanished. Now, the issue here isn't your email content or your flows. It's actually your ability to recognize and reach these first-party shoppers post-cookies. Most brands are only sending abandoned cart and browse abandonment emails to a tiny fraction of the people who actually abandoned. The rest are invisible to Klaviyo because they switched devices, they cleared their browser, or their cookies naturally expired after 1 to 7 days. This is where being able to recover and re-engage those shoppers becomes critical. If you can reach 5 times more of your site visitors, you're dramatically expanding the pool of people who enter your highest converting flows. Site abandonment, cart abandonment, browse abandonment, price drop alerts. That's not incremental improvement. That's a step change in retention revenue. This is literally what Instant was built for. Their tech brings you more shoppers back, no cookies required, and feeds them into your site abandonment flows automatically. Some brands are seeing up to 10x more shoppers enter these high intent flows. Check it out for yourself at instant.one/Sharma. So a couple other things I want to call out that are smaller wins, but I think just like awesome. So one is A/B tests on live themes. So if you've got a full new site theme, you've got a holiday redesign, you're testing some new sections, you can now split test those themes. So you don't, flip a new site live and tank conversion overnight. With that too, you can also schedule theme go lives. So again, if you're launching a new site and you want to flip it right at like 3:30 in the morning, that's when you have the least amount of traffic, then you can now schedule it so you don't have to stay up for it. Although, if it was a new site, I'd probably want to stay up. But where this I think gets really helpful is like all the e-commerce managers that unfortunately have to stay up until 11:59 p.m. or be on their laptop at 12:01 a.m. For you guys, you don't have to do that no more. Shopify themes can now be scheduled, which is awesome. Better online search. So again, this is one I'm curious to see how it does, but I believe with all the advancements in NLP, in AI, in being able to, just everything happening in everything we're talking about, I do want to believe that the Shopify native organic search for the site is getting better. And sorry, I don't mean organic search, but like search on your own on the product website. There's companies like Bloomreach that exist that their entire business is basically how do we build the best possible search for merchants so that, consumers can find products better, easier, faster, more efficiently. So I'm excited to see what better online search means for Shopify. Line item price overrides on draft orders. So if you've ever done friends and family orders, you've ever put those in for your friends or homies, you know that you have to basically use 100% discount code to, wipe the whole order 100% off and ship the order out. Well, it's a small thing, but I thought it was cool, and I feel like a lot of people would relate. But now you can actually just line item price override individual things. So if you've got 3 things, you can price override 2 of them and charge them for 1 if that's what you're trying to do, or you can now just do it individually, which is cool. Customer accounts now stay signed in for a full year, which is pretty cool. That means, repeat purchase friction drops a little bit. Checkout intelligence, which is basically the new Shopify checkout page. It kind of reorders payment options based on what your specific customer is likely to choose. So I'm kind of excited for that one, to be honest. I think that'll be cool. Native product compliance disclaimers. So basically all the legal language you need to put around, if you're a supplement product, if you're a beauty product, if you're a peptide, whatever it is, you can now natively insert product compliance disclaimers, which also, if you think back to the first thing I mentioned, the site being more agent friendly, that means that now because this is native in Shopify, it's also going to be indexed properly and properly fed to the LLMs. WhatsApp became an official native marketing channel, which is kind of cool with Shopify. Before it wasn't official, but now it is. Custom conversion events are now easier to set up. Now, for most people, you're probably using something like Converge to run custom conversion events, or create those and report those back to Facebook. That's like when you see these big supplement brands running a 90-day subscription. They're not running a normal purchase event at checkout. No, they're running, they've got like a custom Converge 90-day subscription event that fires, and that sends a very specific signal back to Meta as far as what just happened. So a version of that is coming natively in Shopify, but again, most people listening to this are probably going to be using Converge or something of that sort. Now, a couple of the things that are coming, I'm not 100% sure on. I'm kind of excited to see where these go. One is the AI sales associate. So basically, answer customer questions in real time. Think a chatbot for your site. I, I'm curious to see like who uses that. Again, Shopify always, Harley will always say, we build, products for entrepreneurs who are doing things. They might be solopreneurs, it might be small teams, or may not be venture funded. But the brands that are probably listening to this and might be doing anywhere from 10 to 500 million in revenue or a billion in revenue, I don't know that you're going to be using Shopify's native sales associate. You'll probably be using something a little bit more enterprise, a little bit more security heavy, and a little more robust. Campaign Autopilot is another one that Shopify is pushing really heavily. And that's basically the promise of, hey, we're basically an AI powered marketing engine. You set the budget and it basically runs. So, I'm curious again to see where this goes. I don't think this is going to be for most people listening to this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My take is, look, Shopify is basically realizing, and I remember last year we were talking about this and it just felt surreal. Like it felt like it wasn't going to be true for 5 to 6 years at least, that websites could be going away. But websites are definitely going away. Just think about even the usage. If you're a Power AI user to some degree, and you're using Claude Code or you're using Codex or Hermes or OpenClaw, almost everything that you're doing is probably done either via API or can be done via API or MCP, meaning you don't actually have to log into the .com site of GoDaddy or Higgsfield or whatever it may be to go in and whether it's make that ad creative or pull that report. You can now just do it through the chat interface. And so commerce is definitely heading there. Early performance of friends of mine who are running Chat GPT ads, for example, it's pretty good. And obviously it is, because the intent's super high and people are searching for these things. So this is not going anywhere. It's obviously here to stay. It's exciting to see Shopify take these steps forward and kind of figure out how to prepare us, and also like coach us along the way. And yeah, if you're doing anything cool in this world of agentic commerce, please reach out. Maybe we'll have you on, but I'd love to chat. And that's pretty much it for this week. I hope you've had a great time listening to this podcast. I appreciate you rocking with me this whole season. Thank you for being a limited supply listener, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for our next season premiere.